folks back up here for me real quick. Okay, hopefully tours were helpful. You guys were able to see the school a little bit and kind of see just the makeup of the school and feel a little bit more comfortable as we get closer to next school year, kind of how this school is set up. Okay, next, what we are going to do is we are going to have teachers come in and talk to you guys a little bit about classes for, I guess, essentially, we're going to really focus on what your options are as a freshman, but also talk pretty briefly about kind of planning out for the next 4 years, because what you choose this year is going to dictate what you're able to do in the future. So, what I'm going to ask you guys to do for me first, if you guys would get your computers out. Okay, reason I'm having you get your computers out. I would suggest, as teachers are talking, that you think about what your schedule is going to look like for the next 4 years. Now, good part about this, your 4-year plan form is editable. So what you put in today doesn't necessarily mean, so the spreadsheet, just because you put that on there today does not mean you need to keep that or you have to keep that even for this year. But this will give you an idea of, hey, as we went through and we talked about that and teachers talk, that is something that stuck with me. Okay, and the reason I say that, as we go through, you're going to hear each of these departments. So, our first speaker is going to be from the math department. And she's going to talk a little bit about what your options... Thanks, Siri. And she's going to talk to you guys a little bit about what your options are as a freshman for math. And then you can kind of fill in the blank with what you think best fits for you going forward. Okay? So I would suggest keep that open and kind of think about where each of these, because what we're going to be talking about, each of these are some form of requirement either for graduation or if you plan on going to college. So you kind of need to keep that in mind. And we know you don't have all the information sitting there in front of you, but this at least gives you a plan, so when you start going back and meeting with your counselors going forward, you've got a little bit of a plan. Okay, so our first speaker is going to come from our math department. This is Mrs. Tolotson. They didn't cheer today. There we go. So Mrs. Tolotson teaches a lot of our Algebra 1 and Algebra 1A and 1B classes. So if you are kind of on that track where you would have one of the algebra classes next year, there is probably a pretty good chance that you would have Mrs. Tolotson as your teacher. So I'm going to give her a chance here real quick just to talk about math options.
All right, guys, so your teacher is going to recommend you for what math class you're going to take next year, but I'll give you kind of an idea of what that might look like. I would advise that you try to stay with their recommendations. They know kind of how you're doing and where you should be. If you have questions about their recommendations or where you think you belong, talk to your math teacher about it, okay, and they'll recommend you for what you two together think you should be in. If you're in Algebra 1 right now, and you're doing well in it, and you're being successful, and you're ready for that next step, then that will put you in geometry next year. The cool thing about that is it gives you more freedom for your schedule your junior and senior year to take some more advanced math classes. You have some options there to get you ready for the career track that you might be on. So that is, if you're in Algebra 1 now, and you're doing well, and you're ready for the next step, you'll be in geometry freshman year. If you're in Algebra 1 now and it's been a little bit of a struggle and it's maybe been a little bit fast and you maybe need to try that again so that we don't miss some stuff, you'll take Algebra 1 again next year, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. If you're in pre-algebra right now, you will either go to Algebra 1 or Algebra 1A next year. So if you're in pre-algebra right now, it's going well, you're doing pretty good, then they will recommend you for Algebra 1 freshman year. If you're in pre-algebra right now and it's difficult for you and you're struggling a little bit, then they will recommend you for Algebra 1A for next year, okay? That being said, make sure you show them your full potential, okay? So make sure that like the work that you're doing in class and your grade and all that represents what you're capable of so that they make sure they get you in the right class. We don't want you to be in a class that you're bored in. We want you to be in a class that's right for your level, but also challenges you some. Okay, and again, if you have questions about where you think you should be, just talk to your 8th grade math teacher and have that conversation with them, and they will help you out with that. And I would recommend you do whatever they recommend. They usually have a pretty good idea of where you should be. Questions? So it's a year long, so if you take Algebra 1A, your freshman year, you'll take it all year, and then most of those people will go into Algebra 1B the next year, like 99% of you will take Algebra 1B the next year. Then your junior year, you start to have some options, so you could go into geometry, or we have this new class coming in that's a little bit more hands-on. We'll still like learn the math and do the notes and stuff, but then we're gonna go apply that with some hands-on like actual projects and build some things. And that kind of depends on what career path you're on. Like if you're planning on going to college, we're gonna try to put you on that track. If you're planning on doing maybe something more hands-on, like a tech school or straight into the workforce, then we'll try to put you on that track. So you start getting options junior year. Anything else? Questions?
Awesome. Thank you, Mrs. Tillotson. Yes. So once again, I'm going to also tell you guys another way that you can look at this as we're talking is thinking of the 7 habits, highly effective teens. Begin with the end in mind. Think about where you want to finish and maybe kind of go to, you can also look at it from senior year back. So if you know you want to earn college credit, you may plug in that college credit class at the end and kind of go from there, okay? So there's a number of different ways to look at it, but hopefully that at least explains kind of some of your options for next year and going forward. So our next speaker is going to talk to you about science, so some of the science classes. So this is Mrs. Roney, applause. Okay. Mrs. Roney, she does teach, you teach some environmental science, so there's potentially, if you take some environmental science, you could possibly have Mrs. Roney next year. She also teaches several upper grades, so she'll talk a little bit about what your options are as a freshman and kind of going forward in science.
Hello, hello. All right, as freshmen, you will come in and you'll have the opportunity to take one of 2 classes. You'll either take environmental science and or biology. It's determined, though, based on your math grade currently. If you are in Algebra 1 and you are getting a B or better, you can take biology. You don't have to, but you can. If you feel like, science really isn't my thing, but math is totally my jam, you can always come in and take environmental. But regardless, biology will be somewhere in your schedules because biology is the only required science class you have to take, okay? So you either come and take it as a freshman or you'll take it as a sophomore. Now, if you are a freshman and you come in and you take biology, that opens a lot of avenues for you because then as a sophomore, you can take chemistry or you can start to double up and take classes if you're planning on taking like college chemistry and or like your upper level biologies. We offer a ton of semester courses, so I mean you could take a lot of science courses. As a freshman, if you come in and take environmental science, your sophomore year you will have to take biology, but you can still take the avenue of advanced classes because you can double up your sophomore year. So if you're knowing that you want to go in and you want to take advanced chemistries or things like that, you can always take biology and chemistry your sophomore year. Yes?
So, in math, I have a D+ right now. Would I be able to take, would I have to take environmental science?
Yes. Okay. So, trying to think. I mean, I think I hit most. Do you guys have any questions? Okay, so as a freshman, you cannot double up in science. I know some of you are like, oh, darn, I love science so freaking much. I can't believe I can't double up on it. But you can, as a sophomore, any one of you can double up on those classes. But again, you have to take biology, either your freshman or your sophomore year. Don't let it slip through the cracks. Okay, any questions? Yes?
So, is your algebra grade going to determine your biology right now or at the end of the year?
At the end of the year. Okay, or if your science or if your math teacher is like, oh man, I think that you're going to be amazing at this, you know, and you're kind of on the cusp of like, you kind of have a B, but you kind of have a C kind of sitting there, and if your teacher really thinks that you can't handle it, you were just lazy, not that it ever happens in middle school, then, you know, that's something that you can have a discussion with them on that, so.
That's a great question.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Your grade is MB.
I also coach dance tryouts. Are coming soon. Bye.
Thank you, Mrs. Running. Okay, and that is a very good question because, guys, I will also tell you what you are starting to find. We have some kids that do have a tendency to maybe not give their best effort, that may tend to struggle to turn in assignments, and it hurts their grade. I will let you know those grades follow you a lot more probably in high school maybe than they have in the past. You are also going to start seeing in some of, if you look through our course requests or course studies guide, you will start to notice there's something in there called prerequisites. And what that will say is basically, if you are going to take this class, you need to have completed this other class before and received a specific grade in it. So, grades are going to matter quite a bit in high school, okay? So keep that in mind. If you want to achieve something and you kind of want to take some of those steps ahead, you are really going to have to need to pay attention to your grades and how you're performing in class. Okay, our next one is Coach Middleton. Okay, Coach Middleton, she is social studies, and I think this year you've got pretty much all sophomores, don't you? So in history, it just kind of depends. You probably would not see her mostly until sophomore year or past unless you play girls basketball. So I'm going to give her a chance to talk a little bit about social studies and what some of those options are as well. Here you go.
Thank you. All right, you guys need 3 social studies credits in order to graduate. All right, so you'll all be in American history next year. There's no choice about that. Every single one of you will take American history. We feel like that makes sense with the flow of our curriculum because right now you guys are in American history. So you guys will stop with the Civil War this year chronologically, and then next year we'll pick up with Reconstruction. So you'll have that fresh in your mind, thinking about it all summer, right? And then come in and you won't be thinking about that all summer? Oh, okay. Well, but we think that flows the best, all right? So all of you will be taking American history freshman year. This year, Coach Solons and Coach Gibbs taught American history, but like Mr. Vorvig said, it changes, so it could be different people next year. Sophomore year, okay? If you are going to college, if your plan is college, we encourage you guys to take world history, all right? And if you're ready for some AP and college prep classes, we encourage you to take AP World. I think we're the only department that offers an AP class maybe sophomore year. All right, and it is challenging, and it is awesome, and it is with Mr. DeVinny. All right, so if you are ready for that, your sophomore year, we highly encourage that you do that. All right, your American history teacher has to sign off on that, so that's something to keep in mind. All right, don't slack off your freshman year if you are wanting to take the upper level classes, because if you don't do well in American history and you want your American history to sign off for you to be in AP World, they're probably not going to think that you should be from your performance your freshman year. So just make sure you're trying hard from the very beginning. So if you do want to take AP, your teacher will sign off on that. All right, and then I teach regular world history. And again, if you're on the college path, a lot of colleges want to see that world history on your schedule. We do start to have a few options, though, your sophomore year with electives. Sociology is a semester class. Psychology is a semester class. I'm teaching Missouri history right now as an elective, and we also offer street law, okay? Then everybody as juniors takes government, American government. This is the only state-required social studies class that you have to have in order to graduate. And you also have to pass the Missouri and U.S. Constitution test in American government, and that's our EOC class. All right, so it's a real important one. And we spend a lot of time in American history and world history preparing you for that government class, okay? And there's also AP government options your junior year. Other AP classes that we offer AP psychology. Mr. Anderson teaches that. Kids really like to take AP psychology, AP Gov that I mentioned, and then AP World your sophomore year. I think I covered it all. All right, you guys got any questions? Yes?
Also, when you send the drop-down thing, it says either American history or option 2.
There is no...
It's not by accident, sorry.
Yep.
Sorry, you got to take American history next year.
It's just American history. I thought I fixed that yesterday, but obviously I need to.
Well, she is really reading the stuff, so that's good. Way to read your resources. I am also going to be a freshman advisor next year, so I may have some of you in my advisory class, so I'm excited to get to know you guys.
You
All right.
have to pass
Want to make sure you start off strong. Okay, thanks guys.
Okay, thank you, Coach Medicare. Okay, next, we are going to talk about English and some of your English options. So who I've got up here is Mr. Zirkle. Mr. Zirkle teaches quite a bit of freshman classes right now. He does some English 1 and some English 2. So there's a chance you could have him freshman year. There's a chance you could have him sophomore year or freshman and sophomore year. Who knows? And they kind of move around. English kind of moves around with some different classes each year as well. So he's going to talk just a little bit about English and what some of your choices are there.
Oh, my bad. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between. I am Mr. Zorkel, so I teach freshman and sophomore English. I guarantee about half of you will be in my class at some point, either your freshman or sophomore year. So English is pretty straightforward. It is the only course in all of high school you have to take all 4 years. We require all 4 credits. But it's pretty easy. Freshman and sophomore year, you will take English 1 your freshman year. There's no choice on that. Sophomore year, you'll take English 2. That is an EOC course, so there is no option with that either. It is not till your junior year where you get to kind of explore your options that way. You can either take the traditional English 3. You can go into AP Government if you're on college track. That's not AP Government. AP Lang. That's the college track class if you're really wanting to advance and get some college credit early on. Or you can do our new Client Connected project, which they've gone into detail. We'll go in more detail once you get to that age. And then, or if you end up taking CCC courses, you can get English credit through that. But you will take it all 4 semesters. And then once you get to senior year, you will be in Mr. Bliss's class, where you will take either Contemporary Lang, or you will take UCM Comp for college credit. So those are kind of our options. English is pretty nice. It's straightforward. There's kind of 1-2 different pathways you take. Not a whole lot of options. But it's fun. We like to have fun in English. And like I said, you get to hang out with me every once in a while. So yeah, that's pretty it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Mr. Zirkle. Okay, I think, do what? Foreign language. Ms. Diegas, you ready? Okay, so I'll let her kind of talk a little bit more about foreign language here in a little bit, but Mrs. Diegas teaches Spanish for us, so here she is.
Good morning to each of you. You don't remember me, but I certainly remember you. I am the former first grade teacher of about 25 of you or so. And basically, I missed you so much that I decided to come to the high school and wait for you here, where I now teach, as was said, Spanish. In my department, we have another instructor named Sharia Dawson, who teaches German. And basically, the bottom line is, why take foreign language? So number 1, it would look wonderful on your resume. You would likely get a call to interview with any company that you would be interested in the future. That section in your resume would distinguish you from other candidates. And then if the people interviewing know that you have that extra skill to where you can connect better with customers, clientele, etc., why not take you on board that company? Why take foreign language? Well, because if you get tired of being someone's employee, you could maybe start your own company. And if you do really well, you might want to branch out, expand your company onto Europe, Latin America. Connecting with the locals in their language becomes profitable for a company for sure. And then why else take foreign language? Because a lot of universities, colleges around the area, or around the country, I assume, require 2 years of foreign language, 2 years of the same language. So remember that you have 2 options here at the high school, Spanish and German, and you have the option of continuing your education, learning a different language for college credit if you desire it. Trust that your next few years will be your best years. I am proud of you. It's taken so much effort to get to this point. The best is yet to come, and I hope to see you around. Thank you for listening and considering the Foreign Language Department.
Awesome. Thank you, Mrs. Diegues. Once again, big reminder in foreign language is just as you plan out, if you are planning on going to college and potentially in the University of Missouri system, that is a 2-year requirement. We do not require it for graduation, but that is something sometimes kids don't think about until much later in high school, so plan that out and what you want to do. Okay, our next speaker is someone that I think you guys probably remember from last year, so Coach Nolan. Coach Nolan, I didn't even have to prompt him, man. There we go. So Coach Nolan is here to talk to you guys a little bit about some of our PE options.
Very, very well-deserved clapping. For sure.
All right, we'll talk about PE real quick. In order to graduate, you got to have 1 credit of PE, and there are several options you can take to get that. All right, you have boys and girls team sports, which like you're going to be physically active in those classes. Those will be more if you want to take a PE credit freshman, sophomore year, you would take boys or girls team sports. All right. The next one is going to be lifetime fitness. This will be more. I think they want it to be more towards juniors and seniors in the class, but lifetime fitness is going to be like yoga. They're going to be just doing walking stuff. You get a pedometer and you just have to get a certain amount of steps in. So lifetime fitness is going to be like, you're probably not going to sweat nearly as much as if you take team sports or anything like that, but lifetime fitness would be stuff that you could do throughout your entire life, all right? Again, lifetime sports, that is, again, they want that to be junior, senior classes. That would be, I think they play like ping pong. They do play bags. Again, it's more sports that are going, you can play until you're old, like Mr. Grantham. Age, all right? Sports like that, okay? Field trips for that as well. They play pickleball, so you go to Chicken and Pickle. They do golf, so they go to the Peculiar Driving Range. They went ice skating, I believe, as well. So there are field trips involved with that one. So again, sports that you're going to play for a while. Going back, team sports, that's going to be like basketball, soccer, I think. They play floor hockey. So some like sports like that, all right, where you're actually going to be moving, you're going to be physically active for those, all right? So that would be your just normal PE classes if you want to take PE class, all right? The rest of them are going to be weights classes, which those will be with me, unless girls weights, those with Coach Bailey. But we're doing something a little bit different next year. We're going to have intro to weights. So if you do not take a weight, if you're not in summer weights this summer, you will be in the intro to weights if you want to take weights as a freshman. Which is going to be, we're going to slow things down big time. This is for people who have never really lifted before. We're going to teach you how to lift properly. And you're going to learn how to lift so that when you do get into normal weights, if you want to take normal weights, you know what's going on, because in normal weights, there's going to be guys that are seniors that have been lifting for 4 or 5 years. They know what's going on. We don't necessarily have time to slow down and teach every single tiny little part of each lift. All right, does that make sense to you guys? So intro to weights, again, is if you aren't in summer school weights this summer, you'll be in intro to weights next school year if you want to take weights, okay? You have to have 1 PE credit if you don't want to do team sports or anything like that. You would rather do weights. That would be the one way to get your PE credit, would be intro to weights, okay? Then the next one's going to be weights or girls' weights. That is where it's going to be an intense workout. We're still on our block schedule, so you have an hour and a half. We're going to be lifting or doing some sort of physical activity, running, agilities, jumping, those sorts of things for an hour and 10 minutes at least. All right. So when you are done with that class, you will be sweating and you're going to be tired. Okay. Also with that, we have 0-hour weights. So if you are taking a whole bunch of weighted classes or something, you don't have time to fit weights into your schedule. We have 0-hour weights, which is before school. We start at 6:45. So you can come take weights before school. You'll get a credit for it as long as you show up every day. You'll get a credit for that, so you can actually get an extra credit just by coming to 0-hour weights. All right? Yep. Lifetime fitness, they want it to be juniors and seniors, right? 9 through 12? Okay. That's what Cheyenne just told me was.
Lifetime Fitness.
Lifetime Fitness, 9 through 12? Okay. All right, then just Lifetime Sports is junior, seniors?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't teach those, so I don't really know, to be honest with you. So anyways, 0-hour weights. Weights can be all 4 years. There's no like, you can only take it once and you're done. If you are in athletics, sports, I would highly, highly suggest that you take weights all 4 years. Both semesters, all 4 years, if you can fit it in your schedule. If you can't, I get that. Especially freshman years, might a little more difficult, I think, to get both semesters of weights. Again, you need to be in weights and it's hard to get in your schedule. Again, you have 0-hour option, which you can sign up for and we can get that figured out. All right, any questions over that? Simple enough? Good to see most of you guys again.
Good question.
Coach?
Make sure you check your email. I sent you an email.
All right, perfect, thanks.
You should check
Appreciate that. I'm sure it'll be perfect for the day. All right, see you guys.
Appropriate.
Okay.
Appropriate.
Okay, and a couple of reminders I would have for you guys as you look through there and sign up. We have got some phenomenal PE teachers, and their expectation is that you come to class and you work each day. And I'm going to say with that, the two biggest things I think that we hear from kids before they take PE. We have many that are scared to take PE when they come to high school. And I think some of that has to do with dressing out and some of those things. If you were one of those people that says, man, I'm a novice, I do not feel comfortable going, and you kind of want an introductory level to that, I would tell you, not that you're not going to work, but an intro to weights or Lifetime Fitness are probably going to be a little more high, a little bit lower impact. I'm going to tell you, if you take the upper level weights class, if you take boys or girls team sports, you will probably leave sweating each day. Okay, so know that as you walk in. Lifetime Sports, once again, those are, you know what, I was in there 2 weeks ago, they were working on bowling. You're probably not going to sweat bowling. They're doing pickleball, some of those. It's not as high intensity workout, but you are still learning some activities in athletics that you might use throughout your life. Okay, so keep that in mind as you are selecting. Next. Sure, and also, you guys will see this as you go through. Health. It is taught through our PE department. I would highly, highly suggest that you try and fit this in either this summer or your freshman year. Okay, so summer, I would not extend yourself too much. If you know you're going to be on a bunch of vacations, we do it online, but if you're going to be on vacations, camps, some of those things, you may want to not consider that. But I would think you probably want to get it done by the end of your freshman year. Okay, so consider that as you guys are building your 4-year plan. Our next speaker, we've got talking about art. So I've got Mrs. Thurman here to talk to you guys a little bit about art. So.
Morning. For your fine art, you have a choice as a freshman to take art fundamentals. That's going to be good for you if you enjoy drawing, painting, learning the basics of how to shade and draw things more realistically. That's a semester class. After you take art fundamentals, then you can take drawing if you want to pursue drawing more in depth. You also have an option as a freshman to take Ceramics 1, so if you would rather build things with clay, make more 3D projects, that'd be a good choice for you. Now, after you've taken art fundamentals or Ceramics 1 as a freshman, that opens the door to more classes your sophomore, junior, senior year, if you would like to move on to painting, Ceramics 2, more advanced topics. But as a freshman, art fundamentals, Ceramics 1, and then drawing, if you really like art fundamentals. Do you guys have any questions for me? Okay.
Awesome, thank you, Ms. Thurman. Once again, be thinking, everybody has to get one fine art. So I've got Mr. Hort here who's going to talk to you guys about band and music here in a second. But that is another thing. We offer some higher level art classes at the end. And if that is something that you want to work your way towards, you probably need to be thinking about how you might, if you are more of the artistic mind, how you might want to build those into your schedule early on. So next up, Mr. Hort for band and music.
Good morning. Thank you guys for being here. So happy to see you guys. Really quickly, I'm going to tell you about some stuff for choir. So if you're in vocal music, with Mr. Wellhoff down at the middle school. Mr. Matthew is obviously on a trip today, so he's gone. He said to me, if you want to be in choir your freshman year, all ladies should enroll in Serenata and all men should take Royal Accord. Mr. Matthew will then contact you about the option of auditioning for Forefront and Music Makers if you prefer to be in a show choir. Your enrollment will be changed at a later date. So basically, if you do have questions though, obviously you can see your counselor, but you can also email Mr. Matthew. Then on the other side, if you are also in choir and band or you do both, one of the things that I want to say up front is that you can do both band and choir in high school because you'll easily get your fine arts credits, but then also you can be involved in both groups as well as being enrolled in and being involved in other sports activities as well as band or choir. So all current 8th grade band students should enroll in the concert band class with their counselor. It's a full year class. Students enrolling in band in high school should have already played in band while in middle school, which obviously, if you have, you know what to do. No matter what instrument you currently play, you should enroll in band. Even if you're in band and other activities, you're allowed to participate in both band and other activities throughout high school. If you're enrolled in band, you're expected to participate in marching band in the fall semester and then transition to concert band at the end of the fall semester into the spring. And then if you are in or would like to be in jazz band, that will be an audition-based opportunity. So I can talk to you students at the middle school as well about the process of auditioning, and we'll do it before the end of this year or the end of this semester. And the last thing is that if you are coming into band next year, you're going to have the chance to go during your freshman year, to go on our long-distance trip to San Antonio next spring break. So that's one of the cool incentives about being in band as well. But I'll take some questions if you have any. Yeah.
So I played the flute last, before I came to Harrisonville, but I wasn't able to get into band. Will I still be able to get into high school band?
So what, did you play through 7th grade?
No, I played, 5th to 6th.
Okay, so one of the things that I'll suggest for that, and that's a great question, is that if you haven't played for like a year or two, to get back into private lessons, and then once you work up some of your ability, you can get back enrolled. And so you can re-enroll, even if you're not in your freshman year, you can come back by like your sophomore year. And that's another suggestion, is that if you aren't in your freshman year, you can enroll in later years. So come see me, Mrs. Spinney, at the middle school, and we can help you out with that. Okay? Thank you. Is there any other questions? I hope you're having a good day. It's great to see all of you. Thank you so much.
Okay, next group are going to be our practical arts. So these are, we got 3 different teachers that are going to come talk to you. Our first one is going to be Mr. McKinnis. So before we give Mr. McKinnis his deserved applause, Mr. McKinnis teaches a lot of personal finance classes and business classes. So if you are really interested in business and some of those areas, he would potentially be your teacher. He does teach, I think, Intro to Business, which is a freshman level class, so if you took that class, you potentially could have him next year. Otherwise, you're probably going to see him a little bit later on in high school. So here is Mr. McKinnis.
All right, so like he said, I teach personal finance, but you can't take that until your sophomore year, okay? In that class, we talk about things that you'll need to know to move out, basically, of your parents' house, right? We'll talk about credit, we'll talk about buying a house, student loans, things like that, but you can't take it until at least you're a sophomore, okay? The freshman level classes that we offer in the business department are Intro to Business and graphic design, okay? Intro to Business, we talk very briefly about several different aspects of starting a business. And one cool thing that we do, you create a food truck project from the ground up. And then if you guys have seen the show Shark Tank, we have Shark Tank at the end of class. And you come up and you present the project in front of everybody and things like that. Graphic design, if you like being on the computer, There's graphic design 1 and graphic design 2. You have to take graphic design 1 first, obviously. But that works with like Photoshop, InDesign. You get to alter pictures, and it's all on the computer. So those are some of the freshman level classes that we offer. We also have accounting 2, business law, business tech, but those are all upper level classes. You have to be at least sophomores to take most of those. Some of those you have to be juniors. So there's not as many options for freshmen for the business classes, except for those 2. But once you get into those, then you can start working your way through some of the other business classes if you have any aspirations of maybe starting your own business or going into a business field or something like that. So, any questions about any of those classes? All right, thanks guys.
Thank you, Mr. McKinnon. Okay, next I have got Mrs. Holloway. Mrs. Holloway teaches in our journalism classes, and she'll talk a little bit about what that might entail, but potentially if you chose to take and go that route, take some of those classes and go that route, you could potentially see her your freshman year. So here is Mrs. Holloway.
You're too kind. All right, so yes, like you said, I am the journalism teacher, so hi Reese. The classes available to you as a freshman are Journalism 1, and then if you like Journalism 1 and you pass it to do pretty good, you can go over to Journalism 2, and then you can also do photojournalism. And you need, if you want to be on yearbook one day as a 10th, 11th, or 12th grader, you need to take at least one of those, Journalism 1 or photojournalism, and I would love to have you on my yearbook staff. It'd be pretty cool. And in journalism and photojournalism, what I teach you is how to be a journalist. So as anyone like to take pictures or want to be a photographer one day? Cool. What we'll do is we have a collection of DSLR cameras, and I teach you the buttons, I teach you how to work a camera, take really, really cool pictures, and we even have a contest where you can submit them. It's pretty awesome. And it's just a really good opportunity to learn those skills, and when you learn those skills, you really like it, and you don't hate me or hate my room, then you can go to Yearbook and use those skills even more and just perfect them. So, and Yearbook's really fun too. I highly recommend it. If you like working on a team and like capturing memories, then you would have a great time. So that's all.
And you will not hate Mrs. Holloway. She is very nice and very kind. Next up, I have got Mr. Cole. Mr. Cole, once again, he will teach some classes that you could potentially take as a freshman. So these are going to be more of our Project Lead the Way. I believe if you've taken maybe some classes with Mr. Deathridge at the middle school, kind of building on some of those at the high school level and going further in depth. So he's going to talk a little bit about what they are and what he offers.
So I teach Intro to Engineering Design can be for freshman students, but you have to complete algebra and got a B or better in algebra. So the engineering classes are really for kids that are really interested in math and science, and it is a quick way. My son is 25 years old. He works for a engineering firm out of Oklahoma City, and he is a consultant that he works on jet engines. So that F-15, F-16, all those really cool fighter planes that were in like Maverick, he works on those. He makes nearly $90,000 as a 25-year-old. How did he get there? He went through my classes in high school, went on and got a degree in engineering, mechanical engineering, and got this, and then 3 years later, that's where he's at. So you don't have to be a doctor and go through 12 years and have major debt to be able to be that level. So in order to get there, you gotta be able to be strong in math and science. You guys, as mentioned, Deathridge teaches a design class that you learn Tinkercad on. We use Fusion 360, do a lot of 3D printing, 3D modeling, and that sort of thing. What else? I also teach a Discoveries in computer science class for if you're interested in the HTML and gaming type stuff. We do programming. We don't play games, we actually build the games. And so that's a intro class for programming. And then finally, I have a basic robotics class. It's way below what, if you're in the robotics team, you probably already know all that. But it is it's designed for kids that have no idea what robotics is, and you just want to, it's a lot of hands-on, building robots, designing stuff. Right now we're doing a tug of war or a tractor pull. Any questions?
So
I was just using it as a reference to say, hey, you can be an engineer and make the same amount of money. I don't teach any classes that relate to doctors and nurses. Although biomedical engineering is a field that would relate to what I do, so it's about designing, but it's within the body or whatever. So no, we don't have those available.
Okay. The last one I did want to talk about because we have it on there and the teacher's not able to come down here and talk. We have FACS, which is Family and Consumer Science. Mrs. Bristow teaches that. So what that is, there's a number of different pieces of that. The introduction level is FACS, F-A-C-S. This would get you into like our foods classes, clothing and textile. They do a lot of cooking in there, those kind of classes as well. So if that's something that you are interested in or want to do, that might be one that you consider. But I believe you need to do the FACS class before you start moving into some of the upper level ones. So that is an option, and that is a practical art as well. Okay. Question? Question? You will not be an HCATS unless you are told you are an HCATS. So you will not be an HCATS first semester freshman year. And typically what that is, that's a credit recovery class. So if we struggle and fail some classes, we put you in there to work those credits back. So hopefully we don't have to. Or if you do an online class, we put you in there too.
All right, before we take a short break and before we have our student panel, one of the things I want to reiterate that a lot of the teachers have talked about as far as their classes and suggestions is really just taking a look at that four-year plan and trying to plan that out, okay? If you have questions about your classes and you don't get that answered from your counselors at the middle school, remember, you can email any of us, okay? You can also email any of the teachers up here if you remember, names and such and who they are. But email is important. So how many of you check your school email regularly? Like as in at least 3 times a week? All right, good. If your hand is not raised, you want to start that habit next year, okay? Because your teachers, your sponsors for clubs, activities, all the information is going to be coming to you, information from just the general announcements. We have a weekly newsletter that Mrs. Jones sends out, okay, is coming to your email, all right? And where when you were younger, your parents were always helping you, or they would tell you about the emails, most of our teachers will start sending emails to you and your parents, okay? So just start checking your email. Also, add it, put it on your phone. Check your email from your phone if you need to, but at least start checking your email. If you, how many of you have thought about maybe a half-day Cass Career Center class? All right, cool. All of that information is sent out via email. You have to turn in your application, deadlines. All that information is in the emails, okay? So I just really want to reiterate the importance of communication. Because as you get to high school, it's honestly really not acceptable to just say, I didn't know about that. Nobody told me. Well, we tell you a lot of things through email, all right? Because with our block schedule, you don't see your teachers every single day, okay? And I don't want to take away from what the panel's going to talk about because they'll share a little more about the block schedule and all that stuff, and you want to hear from students anyway, okay? But just get that email and make sure you're taking care of that. Okay? Yeah, I know, I saw that. So we're just going to take, you got something?
Oh, I always got something. Sure. What I would suggest right now, if you guys would, go ahead, you can put the computers up. This last part we're going to go into, you are not going to need those. So what we're going to do here, we're going to wait until passing period is done. Now, one thing I did talk about, I think some of you guys heard one of our teachers discuss that we have not talked about. The high school schedule, okay? We do run on a modified block schedule, okay? I know you guys had some experience with that in the past. Or last year and the year before that, we do run on a block or a modified block schedule. So what that looks like is on Mondays. Mondays are fast and furious, okay? You have all of your classes, so you have 9 classes that you will go to. 8 of the classes last 36 minutes, and then you will have your advisory class for about an hour and a half that we eat lunch in, and you will meet with your advisors once a week. You have the same advisor, you will be scheduled an advisor, and you will keep that person for all 4 years. Okay, and like I said, right now you meet with them once a week. So Mondays, they are very quick. It's kind of a, hey, this is what we're doing for the week. This is what we did last week. Now let's get rolling. The other 4 days, Tuesday through Friday, we are on block schedules those days. So that means you will have, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you will have 1st, 3rd, 7th, and 9th hour, and you will have those for about an hour and a half. And then on Wednesdays and Fridays, you will have 2nd, 4th, 6th, and 8th hour. And once again, those will each last for about an hour and a half. Okay? So it's a good opportunity because you guys will see as you get up here at the high school level, like especially science classes. We talked about weights earlier, some of those classes. It gives you an opportunity to I know science class, to be able to get in and do some more labs and some of that stuff without having to just start it up and be done. Like a weights PE class, you actually get to get a workout in without just being done. So there are ceramics, you actually get to work. Art classes, you get to actually work. So there's a lot of positives with that. But I do know that will be an adjustment after you guys have been 45-minute classes this year. So what we're going to do, we're going to give you guys just a couple minutes of downtime here, and then after we do passing period, we're going to give you guys, if you need to go to the restroom real quick, we'll give you a chance to go to the restroom, and then we are going to get our student panel up here and start that. So we'll let you know when you can, if you guys want to get up and stretch your legs a little bit, you can do that. We'll let you know here in a second when you guys can go out to the restrooms.